5. Sandra Pepys, Syncopated, with an introduction by Peter Boyce Wendell, the columnist, appeared serially in Jordan's Magazine and came out in book form in March. From its first published installment, it attracted attention far and wide. A trite enough subject, a girl from a small New Jersey town coming to New York to go on the stage, treated simply, with a peculiar vividness of phrasing and a haunting undertone of sadness in the very inadequacy of its vocabulary, made it an irresistible appeal. Peter Boyce Wendell, who happened at the time to be advocating the enrichment of the American language by the immediate adaptation of expressive vernacular words, stood as its sponsor and thundered his endorsement over the placid bromides of the conventional reviewers. Marcia received $300 in an installment for the serial publication, which came at an opportune time, for though Horace's monthly salary at the Hippodrome was now more than Marcia's had ever been, young Marcia was emitting shrill cries which they interpreted as demands for country air. So early April found them installed in a bungalow in Westchester County, with a place for a lawn, a place for a garage, and a place for everything, including soundproof, impregnable study, in which Marcia faithfully promised Mr. Jordan she would shut herself up when her daughter's demands began to be abated, and compose immortally illiterate literature. "It's not half bad," thought Horace one night as he was on his way home from the station to his house. He was considering several prospects that had opened up: a 4 months vaudeville offer in 5 figures, a chance to go back to Princeton in charge of all gymnasium work. Odd. He had once intended to go back there in charge of all philosophical work, and now he had not even been stirred by the arrival in New York of Anton Laurier, his old idol. The gravel crunched raucously under his heel. He saw the lights of his sitting room gleaming and noticed a big car standing in the drive. Probably Mr. Jordan again, come to persuade Marcia to settle down to work. She had heard the sound of his approach, and her form was silhouetted against the lighted door as she came out to meet him. "There's some Frenchman here," she whispered nervously. "I can't pronounce his name, but he sounds awfully deep. You'll have to jaw with him." "What Frenchman?" "You can't prove it to me. You can't prove it by me. He drove up an hour ago with Mr. Jordan, and he said he wanted to meet Sandra Pepys, and all that sort of thing." 2 men rose from chairs as they went inside. "Hello, Tarbox," said Jordan. "I've been bringing together 2 celebrities. I brought Monsieur Laurier out with me. Monsieur Laurier, let me present Mr. Tarbox, Mrs. Tarbox's husband." "Not Anton Laurier!" exclaimed Horace. "But yes, I must come. I have come. I have read the book of Madame, and I have been charmed." He fumbled in his pocket. "Ah, I have read you too. In this newspaper which I read today, it has your name." He finally produced a clipping from a magazine. "Read it," he said eagerly. "It has about you too." Horace's eye skipped down the page. "A distinct contribution to American dialectical literature," it said. "No attempt at literary tone. The book derives its very quality from this fact, as did Huckleberry Finn." Horace's eyes caught a passage lower down. He became suddenly aghast. Read hurriedly on. "Marcia Tarbox's connection with the stage is not only as a spectator, but as the wife of a performer. She was married last year to Horace Tarbox, who every evening delights the children at the Hippodrome with his wondrous flying performance. It is said that the young couple have dubbed themselves Head and Shoulders, referring doubtless to the fact that Mrs. Tarbox supplies the literary and mental qualities, while the supple and agile shoulders of her husband contribute their share to the family fortunes. Miss Tarbox seems to merit that much-abused title Prodigy, only 20... Horace stopped reading, and with a very odd expression in his eyes, gazed intently at Anton Laurier. "I want to advise you," he began hoarsely. "What?" "About raps. Don't answer them. Let them alone. Have a padded door." The end of Head and Shoulders by F. Scott Fitzgerald.